Alongside Martin Biron. Marty, just a week ago, the Leafs were 1 goal away from going up 3-0 on the Panthers. Fast forward to today, and they're on the brink of elimination. On the heels of that Game 5 debacle, what's the biggest key to the Leafs keeping their season alive tonight?
Well, Game 5 was not good for sure, but Game 4 wasn't good either. And when you look at the first period of those two games, 4 shots on goal in Game 4, 6 shots on goal in Game 5 in that first period. It's all about the pushback in the first period. This is how the Leafs are going to let the Florida Panthers and everybody else know we are in this game. We're not going to lay down. We're going to push back, because the last 2 games, they were not pushing back in the first period, and it was apparent that they weren't going to get any pushback later in the game either. So for me, how you start the game is how you're going to be setting the tone for the rest of the game. So that's 1. And 2, the power play has got to produce. So if you get a power play in the first period, there you go again, that first period, but you got to produce. You got to get something done. And I would consider changing the 5 forwards on the power play and putting Morgan Riley on the blue line. Maybe that's the change that they need to be able to produce. Look, they're 2 for 18 on the power play. The power play has to produce. So show up in the first period, give it that push, that kick that you need in the first period, and get the power play going. That is how you avoid losing this series in Game 6.
Well, how about the big dogs, too, Marty? Mitch Marner has 1 shot in the last 3 games. Auston Matthews hasn't scored all series. You mentioned some changes there. What do you think? Should Craig Berube split up that duo tonight?
Well, if he was thinking of splitting them up, I think he would have done that in the third period of Game 5, and he didn't do it. He kept Marner and Matthews together. But here's the change I would make. Look, Matthew Nye is a great player, right? And it has been working well with Marner and Matthews all season long, but right now it's not going. Change the dynamic. Maybe you put Domi up there, and I get it. Domi's been undisciplined, but if you talk to him and you say, listen, this is a big opportunity. You go out there and you bring the energy, and then move Nyes with Nylander and Tavares. I know Pacioretty's been a good fit, but you got to change something on the top 6. And I would also sit down with Matthews and Marner and say, look, you got 20 minutes. You got the first period. So if it doesn't work, I'm splitting you 2. And maybe that little push from Craig Berube would make him really kind of play above and beyond what they need to do in that first period against the Florida Panthers in Game 6. So I'm looking at a few changes. I'm not taking away the Marner and Matthews chemistry that they've had all season long, but I'm giving them 1 period. But maybe I change something else on the wing to change the energy and the way that they've been going offensively.
How about a net, Marty? Joseph Woll was pulled last game after allowing 5 goals on just 25 shots. Now, given how well Sergei Bobrovsky is playing right now, how big is the challenge for Woll tonight with the season on the line?
It's a huge challenge. And look, if you're Joseph Woll, you're not looking at Sergei Bobrovsky and say, I got to match Bob. Like, Vezina Bob has been great. He's had Vezinas. He's had a Stanley Cup. You got to leave it to your forwards and be able to break Vezina Bob. But if you look at Joseph Woll, he was great in Game 2. He was great in Game 4, not so lucky in Game 3 with a couple of bounces. And in Game 5, yes, he gave up a bad goal to Mikkola that made it 4-0. But by the way the game was going, the game was already over by that point. So I'm not going to put it on Joseph Woll. He was fantastic in the first period. If it wasn't for Joe Woll in Game 5, it's not 1-0 after 20 minutes. It's probably 3 or 4-0 for the Florida Panthers. So I'm not worried about Joseph Woll. But you don't want to overdo it. I don't think Joe Woll is going to lose you the game, but he doesn't have to win it either. He's just got to be steady. The forwards have to be able to get to Bobrovsky. It's not Joseph Woll's job, and I think that Joe Woll will be fine. Look, it's a big moment. You gave up 5. You got pulled at home in Game 5, but I believe that he'll bounce back in tonight's Game 6.
Well, the Leafs didn't lose 4 games in a row all season long. They'll need to keep that trend going tonight, or their playoff run will come to a sudden halt.